if Javi was in this particular one, so we'll just have to see until we get that sorted out. Got some Marth versus Fox action happening for you. Christian versus House, interestingly enough, as we get set for game number 1. So as we look down this matchup and go to Pokemon Stadium to kick off Fusion.exe, this winner's round 1 bracket. And thanks for the follow. We got those notifications popping up for you. Marth versus Fox. You don't see a lot of Fox play online, and I can only assume that there's a reason for that, Hangman.
As far as the character just being not too popular for the online, I feel like it's the same for the offline as well. Fox is a fairly difficult character to pilot because you need to make sure that you stay on top of your opponent no matter what. Constantly pressuring out, constantly find instances where you can land your jab, land your nair, land anything that's going to lead you into a situation that gets you your smash attack to confirm your kill. That's exactly what House is going to do in almost record time, but he answered nearly immediately.
That is a wonderful response. Definitely the exact distance where you want to be in order to confirm that kill and connect with that dare. That forward tilt going to give himself just a little bit of space, but yeah, eventually you're going to get closed down on. You kind of have to accept that. You can't just whiff on you can't just have a perfect record with all your swings. You are going to whiff, and you are going to get rushed down upon in the space of that end lag. You just kind of have to accept that. It really is what you do after that where you will win or lose the match. As beautifully executed there, Christian is showing option coverage, and the spacing was there perfectly. What more can you ask for from a second stock?
Just playing pitching is so important in this game. Generally speaking, buttons aren't too reliable for rushing down. Like, you've got nair, you have approaching forward tilt. There are options for getting yourself further into your opponent, but you're not going to match the speed of Fox. It's just not realistic, especially on a stage that you can traverse so easily as PS2. But if Fox gets to him, all of a sudden you have plenty of options to turn a reversal, build up the damage, and as we've seen plenty of times before by Christian, just get yourself some quick kills.
Looking for that forward tilt. Will not connect. However, doesn't mean you don't have options when you're coming down.
Sure.
And now all of a sudden House is on the back foot, as is not one to be expected considering the pace of this match prior, but just not giving him any space to land. That back air is going to connect, cover the jump, and give Christian the 1-0 lead. That was about as well as you could have played that situation, Hangman.
It's a very well-controlled edge guard. The matter that Christian's going with these retreating aerials, I think, is what's really important, because it's somewhat readable where Fox is going to go. That's always been one of Fox's weakest aspects, is how linear his movement is. However, if you put yourself in a position where you could at least put some hitboxes where he's going to end up, you want to be able to get the tipper spacing, obviously, with Marth. And we saw that on a 3-for-3 count between the tipper down air, I believe it was forward tilt on that second stock, and then there with retreating back air. All very well placed, but let's see if House has any response to that matter. I would like to see a bit more space on the stage, either Battlefield or Town and City, just so we can have more room for Fox to navigate, or at least have more outs. But, I don't know. Fox can get it done on any stage. It's just a matter of how well the player decides to navigate the space around the opponent. Especially when it comes to Marth, who, the term zoner is kind of more abstract to put against Marth, being as he doesn't have any projectiles, but he is controlling a very set distance of space. So as long as you can navigate in and out of that space effectively, you can still beat him up pretty badly. He's only going to have Dolphin Slash realistically to combo break.
I mean, when you're talking about zoning, it definitely has a different connotation to Ultimate than it does to Melee, because Marth is when you're talking about Joe average player and you're talking about zoning, and immediately your mind goes to the sort of Wi-Fi Pac-Man or Samus just at any juncture of the game. And it's projectiles, and you're sitting there, and it's kind of almost become synonymous with camping in some people's minds. Maybe not the majority, but it's definitely a significant portion of the population. It's always important to notice, though, that, when you're talking about zoning in at least when it comes to Melee, they're almost always talking about things like, oh wow, I thought that they were going up and out for a second. They're almost always talking about a character like Marth, who is controlling that set amount of space, utilizing that space, and always catching that tipper to maximize their amount of damage on or off the stage. And as Christian is fighting back here to try to get House out of their out of his own wheelhouse and into Christian's, well tipped. It's interesting to see this dynamic go back and forth. You're seeing Christian, I mean, you saw right there, even with that little jump on the center of the stage, the option seems to be to retreat with the back air and let Fox kind of jump into their airspace.
Look at what Marth has to bring to the table. You know that he wants to hit you within tipper range. So, like, he's going to move in a way where you're fighting towards the end of the sword. That's the kind of space that he wants to try and occupy. But Fox is the kind of character who's trying to dive in on you constantly. We've seen that with plenty of approaching bears, plenty of dash attack, and, you know, even a couple of raw smash attacks here and there once House is able to get in on Marth. Keeping that extreme close range, while dangerous, is working out really well for House because Marth doesn't have any reliable options. But right there, we saw the repositioning from Christian and forward tilt able to punish the whiffed aerial. Then all of a sudden, Fox is just gone. Like, you want to keep that set space, not run away too far, but keep running. That way, if the Fox is going to approach on you, they're going to land right in the tipper. And just like that, House is immediately burnt down to last stock.
Beautifully done, but again, House has been one to fight back out of these situations, though this is a pretty steep deficit that they're facing. Not undoable, as you find, again, able to close down distance with that side B and closing out the stock with the up smash. One stock between potential losers bracket run for House and saving themselves to fight another day, or indeed another stage in this game number 3. And immediately, yeah, anticipating House's rush-ins, I kind of feel like this might be Christian's undoing. House can start to time this now.
House is being very well controlled with what he's trying to move in on. Like, now we're seeing either just grabs to reset the neutral or really just nairs, which I think is the better way to go about this. Because we can eventually get a nair into up smash, then that's it. House closes out the match. But if he tries to look for anything else just a little too fancy, he runs the risk of running right into one of these tilts.
That's going to trade. Going to give House just a little bit more, or Christian a little bit more room with which to operate, and indeed has a whole stage worth of space to play with. Trying to get back and take center stage control, but just as you meet the center of that Pokeball midfield, get grabbed by Marth and into the blade of Christian. Up into the stage and out. You got to be ready to tech that. But Christian says this is my house and moves on by a score of 2-0.